You know, my mum's always saying to me, oh, don't you leave your telly on standby all night, it'll cost you a fortune. Well, today we're actually going to find out if it does cost you a fortune or not. Do you want to start making better YouTube videos than me? Let's face it, wouldn't be hard, would it? Use the link on the screen or down in the description to take a look at the top stuff that I recommend with green screens and cameras and everything for making YouTube videos. Go and have a look. Watch this video first though, obviously. Hi, it's me again, and yeah, like I said, every time I see my mum, she's like, you're not leaving your stuff on standby, are you? No, mum, I'm turning it off. I'm not. I leave it all on standby, all of it. She's like, oh, it's going to cost you a fortune. I turn everything off every night. And I know many people do, but I've always been interested to know how much it does actually cost. And, you know, I could put a lot of effort into it and buy one of those kilowatt devices and measure it, or I could just read a crappy article from The Sun, who apparently have done the research into it too. So let's have a look and see how much of this we believe. Because I'm interested to know how much these things cost to leave on standby. Because I bet it's not a lot. Let's have a look. I tested the cost of running my vampire gadgets on standby. I'll never forget to turn off appliances again. Well, that sounds promising. That sounds like it is going to be expensive. And my mum's going to be right. Which should be a sad day, really. Because I hate it when my mum's right. And she's right too much. So, yeah, I hope I'm right. I bet I'm not. Right, and Alexa. So if you get an Amazon Alexa show, the standby energy use typically flirts between 2.7 watts to 3.7 watts, which means the cost is around 2p a day in resting mode. And that thing's constantly listening to everything you say and do in your house, and it only costs 2p a day to sit there doing so. Wouldn't have one in my house. I even turned Siri off on my phone, and I bought a telly that had a microphone in the remote because it was a smart telly and you could talk to it. Do you know what I did? I cracked open that remote and I broke the microphone thing off the circuit board and then put it back together. I'm not saying that they're spying on you and stuff. I'm just saying they probably could, couldn't they? But 2p a day, it's not expensive, is it? I know everything adds up. You know, look after the pennies and all that. 2p a day if you're into that sort of thing. A dehumidifier. In active mode, it typically uses around 200 watts of electricity, costing me around 7 pence an hour. But in its quiet state, when it's just monitoring the air and not actually dehumidifying, it uses 0.6 watts of energy, which costs a fraction of a penny over 24 hours, so basically next to nothing. Now there you go, my mum's wrong. My mum's wrong so far. I mean, what did it say it actually uses when it's running? 7p an hour still seems cheap to me to run a dehumidifier. But, you know, when it's just monitoring the air, it's using next to nothing. I'm not sure how much of that I believe, but apparently they've done their research. I don't know. Oh, a laptop. Let's have a look. I'm pretty terrible at leaving my laptop on charge, even if it's got a full battery and I'm not using it. So I plugged in my aging Dell Inspiron to see if it's actually costing me anything to do this. Every minute, the power usage would flick from 0 to 0.3, 0.4 watts, drop down to 0 again. This cost over 24 hours will be less than a penny. But I realise we have more than one laptop in the house as well as phones and tablets. Again, still, I mean, you're not supposed to, for the sake of your battery, leave these things plugged in all the time. You know, I charge my phone overnight and leave it on all night. You're not supposed to do that to make the best out of your battery, are you? But I don't care. I like to wake up in the morning and have a full battery. But yeah, if you're leaving it plugged in while it's fully charged, 24 hours less than a penny. It's not a lot of money, is it? A bedroom light. My plug shows my bedroom lamp consumes 4 watts at a time, which means it could cost 1p to run for 8 hours. That seems cheap as well. Leaving your bed, obviously they've got one of the posh power-saving bulb LED things going on in there, but less than a penny to run for 8 hours. You'd think I honestly would have thought that would be more than that, wouldn't you? Ah, the TV. One of the oddest findings was when I tested my decade-old Panasonic telly in standby mode. Its normal consumption when on standby is around 0.6, 0.7 watts, which is pretty light. Using that amount of power for 24 hours would cost not even half a penny, look, according to the Sustit Net energy calculator, so I'm not too worried. What surprised me was the telly's consumption when it first switched on at the plug. For the first 3 minutes, it was using around 9 watts of power before dropping down to 0.7. I guess that's due to it connecting to the internet and getting itself in order, ready for someone to switch it on and watch. But it's worth noting that after switching it on at the plug, it temporarily requires 13 times the power than it normally would in standby mode. So clicking the plug on and off all day may well end up using more energy than if you left it on standby. Take that, mother. Take that. I don't think you were right on this one, although your telly isn't some aging old Panasonic. It's only, how old's your telly, Mum? About 2 years old. I bought it for you, didn't I? And I just bought a new one for a bedroom, which is really, really energy saving. So you don't have to keep putting it into standby. You don't have to keep unplugging it when it's in standby, mother. This woman's telly costs more if you keep unplugging it on standby and plugging it back in to turn it on to watch EastEnders or whatever at night, because you've got a free TV licence now because you're over 75, so you can. Electric radiator. Horror of horrors. I came downstairs the other morning to discover my electric radiator had been left on full power overnight. Now, I like an electric radiator. I had a couple of them anyway from previous houses, and I just bought another one because I reckon they're cheaper to run than my gas central heating in my drafty old cottage I'm sitting in here. But yeah, I accidentally left them off overnight. Now I've bought these smart plug things that I use an app on my phone so I can program. They've got timers in them, or you can do it remotely and all of that. So if I'm on my way home from work, I can flick the radiator on from the car and stuff like that. So how much do these cost to run? It's intriguing to me because I assume these are cheaper than using my gas central heating. And it does seem to have saved me a bit of money. I've got the smart meter, as you know. I don't want it, but I've got it. And when I'm using these just to heat the room I'm in, it is cheaper than using the gas central heating for the house. It is. So on this occasion, when she left them on overnight, they were ignored, and as a result, this 2 kilowatt power guzzler was left to burn away all night at a cost of 70 pence an hour. Well, mine are more than that. Mine are 2.5 kilowatts. So it's got to be costing, what, over 90p an hour if I run it on full chat. But I don't run it on full chat. It's got 3 power settings. I have it on power setting 1 and about halfway up the thermostat. That's more than enough for me. There's no way that one's costing me 70p an hour to run. And even if it was costing me 70p an hour to run, that's still cheaper than running the central heating in this drafty cottage for an hour. I'm sure of it. Sure of it. If you've got them, use them instead of gas central heating. Then the article just goes on to say how you can check this stuff yourself. You can buy a thing called a kilowatt. I watch a lot of people on YouTube who do stuff with electronics and that, and they have a thing called a kilowatt. It's a plug, and then you plug your plug into that plug and put the plug into the wall, and it gives you a live power measurement and stuff. I might get one and come back to this. Hey, but that said, the only reason I did this video was to prove my mum wrong, and I think I successfully did it. So what do you reckon about this then? Were you surprised at some of the cost of running these things? And do you think I should ignore what the Sun have said and actually get the stuff and do it properly for once? If you think so, tell me, and I will go and buy one of those plug things, and I'll monitor all my stuff over a couple of days and let you know properly. But yeah, anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, because that way, hopefully I'll see you in another video again soon, won't I? Ta-da!